Well, around the holidays, it's not unheard of that movies will have pretty big openings considering families are together for the holidays. And many people, either on the day of or day before or day after, will go check out movies as they want to just enjoy a good movie and enjoy their holiday vacation for the most part. And it seems this past weekend, the Thanksgiving weekend of this year, was a pretty big box office for both Moana 2, Wicked, and Gladiator 2, as it has fueled the biggest Thanksgiving on record. And obviously, this was a big showing for Disney, as this year they have had a pretty good success at the box office with Inside Out 2, with Deadpool and Wolverine, and now with Moana 2. So a lot of people were curious how this was going to go here. So we got an article here from Variety where we're going to talk about this and give some thoughts on it. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And again, it says box office, how Moana 2, Wicked, and Gladiator 2 fueled the biggest Thanksgiving on record. Overall domestic box office receipts between Wednesday and Sunday amounted to $420 million, the biggest Thanksgiving haul in history. It obliterated the previous benchmark of $315 million set by 2018 slate of Ralph Breaks the Internet, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, and Creed 2. Since the pandemic, though, Turkey Day has been all famine and no feast at the box office. The holiday hasn't topped $200 million since 2019 and plummeted in 2023 to a record low of just $125 million across all films, including Disney's Wish, Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and Ridley Scott's historical drama Napoleon. Box office experts believe the rebound in attendance is thanks to effective counter-programming, and notably of movies that audiences actually want to watch in theaters. Moana 2 brought out families in droves, while Wicked appealed to women, old and young, and Gladiator 2 mostly courted men of all ages. For a while, one-off successes like March's Dune Part 2, June's Inside Out 2, and July's Despicable Me 4 and Deadpool and Wolverine were steamrolling the movie theater landscape. So it's encouraging to see that not just one or two, but three major movies have managed to sell a meaningful number of tickets over the holiday. Positive reviews and a strong word of mouth are benefiting the films. Disney's sequel to 2016's Moana, which was originally developed for streaming before pivoting to theaters, devoured the competition with a $139.7 million over the traditional weekend and $225 million during the 5-day holiday frame. That's a pretty big showing. It registers as the biggest Thanksgiving frame by a nautical mile, overtaking 2019's Disney sequel Frozen 2 and 2013's Hunger Games Catching Fire. Universal's big budget adaptation of the musical Wicked wasn't too far behind on domestic charts with 81 million over the traditional weekend and 118 million during the Wednesday to Sunday stretch. It has grossed $263 million domestically and $360 million after 10 days in theaters, and then Gladiator came in third place after that. So, I mean, obviously Moana's doing well. I've had questions about this movie, especially one that was made for streaming that was converted into a movie, and I think that's because Disney has recognized they don't make, they're not going to make as much money off of this on streaming as they will to make it into a movie that then goes on to streaming, so they can basically, double dip there. They can make their money in the box office and then also on the streaming side of things when it comes to Disney Plus. So we went and saw Moana 2. It very much felt like you could tell it was a show. It was very quickly paced. You could almost see where the cuts and episodes were. And then the end scene seemed like that's probably where most of the budget went, as it felt a little bit different. I would say one thing that this movie is lacking that the first Moana had is the music. Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think it's how you say his name. He was behind the music for the first Moana. He's also the one that was behind Hamilton, and so he's a very well-known commodity, and he's had a lot of success when it comes to music for movies. He was not a part of Moana 2, and I definitely think the music was a weaker part of this. Our daughter didn't really care much for it. She was a little bit bored with it. So I don't think it's nearly as good as the first Moana. I think it's making a lot of money because Moana is if not the top, one of the top streamed things on Disney Plus. Obviously, it's a character that people enjoy. I do wonder, I haven't seen people say it was amazing. I've heard a lot of people say it was so-so. But one thing about it, there's nothing in it. There's no agenda in it. It's just a simple story-driven movie based off the Moana universe there. So, parents don't have to worry about stuff being in the movie, which has been an issue with Disney having things in the movies. And we've seen, they take a hard turn in Inside Out 2 of not wanting anything in terms of agenda-driven stuff in that movie. And we've seen with Moana 2 the very same thing. So I think Disney perhaps has gotten the message that people don't want agendas. They don't want people, projecting stuff they don't want to be lectured to or putting certain things, especially in kids movies. Perhaps Disney's gotten that message. As some of it with Disney, I think, is if these movies don't have these messages in there, I think the movies will just do better because of that. Not necessarily because they're great movies, but because parents can go, oh, we don't have to worry about this. This is just a typical kids movie we can go enjoy. Okay, let's go do that. And kids movies don't have to be the greatest thing in the world. That's one thing about a lot of the kids movies. But historically speaking, the Disney animated movies have been very good movies. You look at the 90s with Little Mermaid and Lion King and all those bangers they had in the 90s. Those were very good movies that also, appealed to kids, but families could watch them and they stood the test of time. I don't know if Moana 2 will be that. Again, I don't think it's nearly as good as the first Moana, but it is a movie that is open over the holiday weekend. You can take kids to see it. Your whole family can go. And, it's an okay story. Nothing offensive, nothing horrible about it. It's just you can tell, at least in my opinion, it was a Disney Plus show that was converted over, and it very much kind of feels that way. A lot of quick paces. The jokes will come quickly. Like everything seemed really sped up that you would find in a show that really didn't have a lot of time to breathe necessarily. But again, I that was some of the questions I had about this movie going in, considering animation takes a long time, so they didn't redo all that animation, all that work they had done making it into a show. They just basically took what they had, probably cut it up, made a few changes, then added in a big final scene or a final part of that movie to sort of wrap it up there. But either way, it's made a bunch of money. Again, Disney, this is going to be their third big movie of the year. So obviously the last few years, it's been a lot of duds, I think, from Disney on a lot of different fronts. Wish last year was not a good movie, did not perform well. And I think you're seeing in the box office too, when a movie does bad, it can do really, really bad. I mean, it can lose a lot of money, but when movies, are typically pretty decent, or at least they don't have any propaganda or anybody forcing an agenda in them, audiences seem to respond pretty well with that, even if it's not the greatest movie in the world, as I think a lot of people just want to be entertained on some level and just want to go see a movie and escape. Shocker, I know. That's crazy to think people would just want to escape into a movie and enjoy themselves. But I think when Disney especially started doing this, I think they're seeing much more success with this. Now, in terms of Inside Out 2 versus Moana 2, I think Inside Out 2 is a much better movie. I think Inside Out 2, I was a little bit shocked there because I didn't know about Inside Out 2, but I will say that actually is a really good movie. Not to the Pixar level of, say, Toy Story when they used to do things, great, but it is a much improved movie over the last few offerings that they've had. And Moana 2 here, while I don't think is as good, it is going to have a really good box office return. It has a shot at making $1 billion. It'll be interesting to see how it does in the continuing weeks, because again, I don't know if the word of mouth is going to be there for it, considering I don't think it's that great of a movie. So we'll have to wait and see if it continues to, build there. If it does have good word of mouth, but enough people keep going to see it, especially with Christmas coming up, it could reach $1 billion. And if that is the case, that would be the third movie this year that would reach $1 billion for Disney, and would probably signal on some level that Disney at least is back on the right track on the movie side of things with that much box office success. But either way, that's going to be it though for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of theme parks and pop culture. And let us know in the comments if you saw Moana 2. What did you think about it? And do you think it's going to make $1 billion at the box office? And until next time, we will see you later.